Actually, I was going to tell you too, you were so far, have the highest amount of downloads on the Canner Culture podcast
Well,
of
that's good.
anyone. Yes. So
That's really
everybody's
good.
very interested in what you have to say.
They want to know.
So, yeah. And I think that's what's really neat about this. Thank you for giving me the access to you to do this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think more people want to hear what it takes, what a judge's perspective is. We've been having a lot of conversation about scoring, and it's cool to have your perspective when you have judged the World Show, the Congress multiple times,
Mm-hmm.
but again, you also coach amateurs. You're involved at a regional level too, so you have a huge perspective
Mm-hmm.
on all of this.
Yeah.
So specifically, since we just got done with the AQHA World Show, I want to have you look at a couple of my videos and be brutally honest.
Okay.
And kind of score them the way you would, regardless of if I was sitting here or not.
Okay.
So let's start with, this is my, let's see, what is this? This is the level 2 amateur horsemanship.
Obviously, I'm judging this one pattern. It's at the World Show. It's your pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, I would get myself sharp, watch some videos at the World Show. We'd watch some penalty maneuvers and some scoring maneuvers.
Okay.
But I'm going in cold turkey.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you exactly what I see
Cool.
here. Okay.
Yep.
So on your first maneuver, leaving a cone, picking up your right lead, going to the center, and stopping. So I look at this, and we were discussing before about, okay, do you score differently at a major than you do at a weekend horse show? I think in this instance, I'm expecting to see greatness, really, really sharp, really, really good. So I'm going to start there in my mind, watching you leave the cone, halfway up, everything's looking really good. I see that just as you start getting to the middle, looking for your center, there's just a little bit of loss of power. And there was a missed opportunity for you to lope real hard to the stop and make that stop be a good, strong +2, in that area. So right there, as I'm watching that, I'll score it good. I won't score it great because you're not going as hard as I feel you can. But I'm in the back of my head, let me see the next maneuver. Let me see where this girl takes it. Now, if you continue and you turn the volume up on your ride, then I can get with it.
All right. Oh, yep. So again, we're gonna
stepping through, loping through, loping through, loping through, starting maybe just right there. You pushed him back forward right there. He kind of, so he stopped, but I would have liked for him to just stop and lock up. Let's position. His turn was very good quality. Easy +2 for me. Into your extended trot. You extend the trot. Your forward is good. Your collect is good. Like your collection could have been maybe just a little more abrupt. If this is a top, if this is a finals, I would have went a little bit harder on it. I think that you can't be. I'd like for you to maybe use your rein hand a little bit more to help your horse. And I think you'd probably be able to make the execution of your maneuver a little bit better. Like the same thing at the stop at the beginning. I think when you went to just, okay, so let's go back there to your low departure. It could have just stepped into it just a little more fire at that first stride. Just a little careful. Across the middle, perfect at your center line, your guide, your balance, pushing through with your right leg, get there, kiss. Just a little bit of a misfire there. And I'm wondering if maybe if you had a little more power getting there, if that change would have been better. Your right lead to your down transition to your walk, to your jog. I think you had a missed opportunity there to really make that square corner and pick up a half a point there somewhere in some maneuver, or showing them judges like, hey, I can do this better than anybody. Great extended jog. Maintain, 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 maintain. Go, 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 go. Whoa. So, and you're back up nice and square, level, position. Everything was real good. So overall, I look at the pattern off the top of my head. Correct everywhere. Some areas you were able to push, some areas you were conservative. And I'm watching this horse and I'm saying to myself, I don't see any reason in this spot and in that spot why she was conservative. And that's what makes me say, when you get to the center of the arena, you'll watch it. When you said whoa to him, had you finished it with your hand, he'd have buried both his back feet in the ground a little bit better. And so therefore, judges are profiling, looking at you. You're coming in like this. Your horse would have just locked up his feet, and boy, I'd have been.
Even
well,
better.
I can go for that. The stop soft. So the low to the middle, let's say if the stop is incorporated in that, 1.5, 1.5 on the spin. And the reason why I'm picky at the spin, I could have given you a +2. I would have liked him to spin on that inside hind leg.
Agreed.
Extend trot to the collect. I thought you were +2 there. I thought your square turns at a jog, very good into your left lead. So your square turns at a jog, your jog would have been a +2 for me. Left lead across the middle, your square turn left lead to your counter. You're a 2 until the change. The change, I'll have to zero the change. And I would have been even forgiving had you 2 strides for your change, had you asked for a little more power and they get the change done. So your lope to your transitional walk was very good. I +2 that all day long. That lope to walk, not as easy. And to make it flat footed and forward, not easy. Again, the jog in transition to the jog was great. So the jog to the square turn down to the middle, this spot here, easy +2, 2.5. You extend trot, easy +2, 2.5 until the stop. I would have liked for his hips to just lock up. He kind of trotted and just landed separate behind. I would have liked him to stop hard. I had a +2 with the kind of backup that you gave at the end. I could have even said to myself, I don't know that you can do it much better. So it's a judge's point of view whether they want to do 2, 2.5, or 3. If you get his back feet into the ground when you say whoa from us looking at him from behind and he backs up that good, I don't think you could do it any better. You're at a 3.
Yeah, that's like the way it should be. Perfect,
you're at a 3. Cool. So then we take that and whatever score it amounts to, then a judge has to do a form and effectiveness assessment on that. And you're anywhere between a 4 and a 5. There's never, other than your lead change, where I'll have to get you on that, not him.
Correct.
Thinking that, okay, I'm coming around, it's a counter canter. I'm pushing him around and he needs power to be able to execute that and still maintain his frame. I would have given you the credit 2 strides before if he'd increased his pace just to be able to change his balance, go to the other side. That's the only weak spot that I thought you were in this pattern. Where you could challenge that a little bit more, or known that, hey, if I don't do this, I have a 50-50 chance this may not be as good as, and I'm staying out of the penalty box, or I don't need a 0. I need to stay on the plus side. So you're easy 4.5 for me on the FNE.
Cool. Thank you.
So if we talk about I want to just bring up the FNE here real quick. This is me judging this. Now, you'll bring a compadre of mine that judges the same class. He may have a total different look and see different things that I'm not seeing. But on the FNE, we all have, as judges, a different opinion about the form and effectiveness box. Me, I'll give a score at the end, and I have no issues doing that. But I always incorporate the form and effectiveness to each maneuver. To me, you coming around on your counter to your lead change, your form was really good there. So it's not like you were out of balance in your saddle and created that skip change there.
Behind. Yep.
I never for a minute looked at you and said, well, she's not
Isn't
sitting square.
riding. Yeah.
It's not that. It's
Yep.
just about going a little bit harder,
Mhm.
being a little bit more bold. So I incorporate that all the way through. But in the end, what I'll do is I'll evaluate that entire pattern and say, was there a loss of control somewhere?
Yeah.
Was there a disconnect
Yeah.
at any one point where that horse went, I don't know what you mean?
Right.
Was the hand moving everywhere, trying to catch up to the horse or trying to get ahead of the horse? And when I see all those things and put them together, then I myself go from a 3 up or a 3 down. So to me, I'll look at it, I'll start at 3, work my way up, or 3, work my way down, depending on how many mishaps there was. I have used the F&E score fairly high on a pattern, let's say in the amateur division at a bigger horse show where a horse misbehaved or had a mishap that I felt wasn't created by the rider.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And still form and effectiveness.
Yeah.
If there was miscommunication, it wasn't on the part of the rider that I could see.
Yeah.
I'll still do an F&E and be pretty positive about it. I use that. That gauge for me is very important. I don't think that F&E should reflect how the horse behaved in there.
Okay.
It's how the how the rider responds to anything that possibly could happen in a pattern, how they handle it and recover from it and move on.
I love that. And when I have asked a few other judges also like how they use the F&E or like what does it mean? Because I've seen it feels to me anyway, as an amateur that goes and looks at my score sheets, it feels to me very different amongst judges. I know some that I have asked, they use that as kind of like a connection guide. If they see somebody that is connected to their horse, knows their horse, and like you said, maybe through the pattern something goes wrong, but they recover because you can tell there's a connection and they are riding through the pattern.
Yes.
I never knew that about the F&E. I honestly thought it was about my outfit.
No.
And how clean or turned out we looked.
Yeah.
I really did think that for a long time.
Absolutely. A lot of people did.
I think so too.
A lot of people did.
And so it's really neat that I would say probably in the last year I've tried to have more of an understanding of the F&E and how it's used or applied. And so would you say you use the F&E differently regionally versus at a larger horse show?
I think my expectations at a major show like the Congress of World Shows and so on and so forth are pretty high. So I have high expectations, especially when the amateur horsemanship comes in, because I feel that's one of the strongest amateur horsemanship class at the horse show at the majors. Anyways, the amateur riders are really, really strong, really tough. And the 14th through 18 as well.
Yeah, actually,
but that I'm telling you, the amateur's tough. Yeah. It's really tough. Yeah. But to answer your question, I think at the weekend horse show, I focus more on preparing, knowing what my average score is for a particular maneuver. Okay. To where at a major, I make sure that yes, I know what my average score is, but I also really have a good idea what my +2 is going to be. Okay. What my +1.5 is going to be. And really, at the world show level, especially in the finals, in the Congress in the finals, when there's, clean slate finals, you really got to know when you see a +3, you got to know it's a +3.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also the flip side of that is you can't just be giving 3s like it's going out of style. So I make sure that I'm ready for that. And one more thing I wanted to touch about the F&E that I told you earlier I wanted to bring up is whenever people are going to look at their scores at a weekend horse show or anywhere, and they'll have a 4-judge class, and you'll have a judge not really use their F&E scores. Not to worry about it.
Okay.
There are some judges that had been judging for years before this F&E box came, and their form and effectiveness they feel is incorporated in within their maneuver scores. And really, in the end, it does not change the placings. It's not going to change their placings, and so they'll use pretty much an score on F&E for everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not trying to tell everybody if there's a 2 there for everyone, you guys are all average or below average or just, it's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do that he has to fill that box.
Right.
He doesn't really believe in it. And what he's saying is, look at my maneuver scores. That's what you need to study.
Okay. All right.
And, you know, and so, and I believe you and Gino had talked about that at the World Show.
Yeah, we talked about
Work
that.
on your maneuver scores. Those are the important.
Absolutely.
So,
okay. All right. That makes sense. I like that. All right. So let's do a showmanship.
You trot to your walk, very synchronized, very connected. Your horse doesn't look like he's questioning everything. Your pace is good. Plenty of energy, plenty of flow. I believe one of these was an extend.
That's me running really fast.
Yes. Yeah. Extend to a collect, I believe.
Yep.
Okay. Your extend to your collect could see a difference in the change. He slowed down, did not curl around you, stopped squarely. Maintaining his spine is nice and straight in his pivot. No bend in his body. At no point does he look like he doesn't know what you're asking of him. Very settled. Your position on your crossovers is spot on. Boy, this girl is walking fast.
She was booking it.
Okay.
Yes.
So she's going at it. To your position. Very good back, and I'll comment on the back a little bit more after we watch this. Very good back. Very accurate. Pivot good, in sync, trotted out, no resistance, flowy, poking his nose out, a lot of expression into a nice halt. So that's very nice run.
Thanks.
Yeah, very nice run.
Pretty good. So I have to say at one point, so we had to trot and then go to a walk, and he did kind of get a little doggy on me, like he got a little slow because usually his walk is really good. Like, he'll like really walk out, and I thought to myself, like, well, I'll just strut a little bit more and make it look like a rally. And when I had talked to Gino after this, he was like, "You're not faking that to anybody." He's like, "You think that they could tell that, or you were tricking them that you weren't getting a good walk?" And he was like, "No, Allie." So I have to ask you, can you tell? Can you tell we're faking it?
You know,
running our legs faster to make it look like a faster trot.
You know, I don't think it's a matter of whether we can catch it as much as I give you a ton of credit for going above and beyond.
Okay, all right.
You know, your job, Allie, is to sell it.
Right. Well, and that's what I was like. Well, watch this. We're walking. You know?
At some point, your horse will be there for you. At sometimes you have to be there for him. As long as it doesn't disturb the whole picture, I'll give it to you. Okay, absolutely. All right. Now we're in the back arena. We're practicing before you go in. No, I'm not going to buy it.
Right? Yeah. Right. Then that's fake.
I'm going to say do it again.
Do it again. Yeah.
But in the arena, you show what you have.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So there's my trot to my walk. Like he was good, and then he kind of like petered out on me a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And then I started selling it.
Yeah.
And then here, this was hard, this trot, because having them on the outside, I saw so many people look. I was I mean, he doesn't, but you never know.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to ask about that too. So, what would you do with that? So, when I went, I stopped.
You were going to ask me about the movement of his feet?
So, he wanted to set up.
Okay.
And I mean, he moved forward, but would you take that as like not?
So, pause it right there. So, here's my opinion on that. And I remember judging the youth world in the finals several years ago. We had, when this actually became an issue, it got talked about. We had one horse that came in. It was a prelim. It wasn't the finals. It was a prelim, and you had to back up really, really hard. You had two horses length back up into a 360 and a trot out. And, if you're backing up hard with a high degree of difficulty, you stop your horse. Your horse is, he's squatting and he's pushing hard. Well, when you go up to position to pivot, your horse has to reset itself to some degree.
Right.
Okay. So we had, and this girl came in, I remember as vividly as yesterday, she had a gray horse. Might have been from Colorado, as a matter of fact, because it bothered me extremely. And we talked about it afterwards with the judges. We had some judges that gave it back then was a penalty 3 for moving a pivot foot. I did not.
Okay.
And to this day, I believe I was right. Yeah. To me, until you initiate lateral movement, I don't care what his feet do. Right. I would expect a horse to back up, and if they're out of balance and their feet are uneven, you go to your position to spin, they reset themselves, square themselves up so that they could pivot really good. Wow, I like that. That's a smart horse. It's been rehearsed, and it's going to execute properly. Well, we had some that gave it a penalty because as the exhibitor got into position to pivot, the horse brought the right hind leg square and then pivoted. We watched the video over and over and over again, and back then it wasn't clear. So to me, what he does there, I have no issues whatsoever. He rebalanced. Now, had I seen your body slightly move into him and his feet are still dancing around, then it's going to hurt. Does it bother me that he reset himself aside from a possible penalty? No, I would expect the horse to do that.
Okay. Because I know in the showmanship, right, we want them to wait for each maneuver, but it was he stopped.
Yes.
And then he did like a reset. He was ready for whatever we were going to do next.
Yes.
But I was like, I don't know. I could see some saying, and no one did penalize it.
Yeah.
But when I watched the video back, I was like, ooh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And I personally remember showing. I didn't think about it.
So to me, when I'm sitting in that chair, here's my thought process when I watch that and I look at that. And I'll always give the benefit to the exhibitor, but mostly give the benefit to the horse. I could tell a good showmanship horse that comes in is very smart. So I look for intent.
Yeah.
What's the intent? Then I look at the horse's head, the horse's eyes, and the exhibitor's hand right away. And I always position myself when I sit in a chair, in the judge's chair, if it's 5 judges, where I can see all those things at any point. Okay. I totally dislike whenever we don't have a choice and sit on the sides where you really can't see the interaction. Right. Okay. In a situation like that, you can see the judges right in front of you. So to me, that's the first thing I would do. I would look, and you could tell whether that horse is just cheating the pattern, getting ahead of you, or what. But I'm looking at him. He never left you. He stayed right with you. You stopped there. You got in your position. He organized himself because he knew either a setup was coming or a spin. Yeah. Either one, it's the same movement of feet.
Okay.
He can't leave a pivot foot back, or he can't leave it too far underneath him, because then it forces you to get in front of your horse and kind of go for a 0 to a plus half spin.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
To me, it's impossible for any judge to sit here and tell me that horse was trying to set up and not prepare himself for a spin.
Maneuver,
tell me, you can't play God like that. I don't think you can do that.
True.
So you give it to the exhibitor.
Okay.
To me.
Okay. That's
cool. And it's not like you stopped at the judge, counted to 5, got over here, counted to 5.
Right.
No. So had you immobilized and stayed there, and he's moving around his feet before you start setting him up, that's different.
Okay.
But in that division that you're showing in, nobody's taking their time.
No.
Everybody's trying to be crisp, trying to outdo the other one and not be out of control.
I'll tell you, I noticed that at the World Show this year too, and the Congress, but I noticed a lot of the winners weren't really, really fast. They were really, really correct.
Mm-hmm.
And every maneuver had intent.
Yes.
And I noticed that everybody seemed to be taking their time a little bit more to make it correct.
Mm-hmm.
Where I feel like a couple years ago we were just fast.
Yeah.
So I actually thought that was neat that we're evolving that way.
Yeah.
And we're showing you guys that we do know what we're supposed to be doing, and our horses are that trained to do the things we're asking them to do. So I thought that was neat.
Yes.
Okay, so now the next part of this pattern is the setup. For you as a judge, I think you and I have talked about this, not specifically on my podcast or anything, but we have talked about this. Would you rather see somebody that you can tell they have a plan for their setup, or somebody that stops balanced and is set?
So I get that question asked quite a bit about the getting up to the judge and the horse's balance and already set.
Mhm.
And I think to me, I can only make that assessment by incorporating what happened before they stopped square and set.
Okay.
So you'll say, well, oh God, I lucked out. I got to the judges. My horse is already square.
Right.
Well, to me, and I have proof in that arena every time I give a showmanship lesson to a level 2 or level 3 exhibitor, is if your horse stops really good, your chances of him being set up behind already and you have one move set up increases dramatically.
Huge.
There is no degree of difficulty stopping from a walk.
Yeah.
So stop.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Lock it up.
Yeah.
Stop. So I teach that a lot. But anyways, coming back to this, to answer your question, if you're going as hard as you can, your form is good, and your horse is connected, and I could tell you two are driving, everything is in sync, and you get up there, you stop good and solid, you look at your horse and he's perfectly square, I'm going to score the fire out of you.
Sell it, right?
If you trot up there good, the first half of your pattern's really good, and you land into a stop in front of the judge, you turn and your horse is square, I'll plus you for what I see, but I don't know that I'll reward you as much as I would if you, I can almost tell when you trot up to the judge and the way you stop, almost where his feet are going to be.
Okay.
So to me, and if they're not square, to answer the second part of your question, to me, you need to look like you have a plan.
Okay.
Every movement of your hand, if there is, I need to see. I've done enough of it to know which leg you're going after, how many inches you're going, whether it's the right front, the right, left front, whether you want it to come forward, back, in and out, and what you're after. I could tell just by watching the way that horse shifts. And if I see a disconnect somewhere, you're in the 0 to +1 box for me. And that's, I don't care how square he is when you're done, and nothing against what you did. I just think you could do it a lot better. There's room for you to improve it. There's talent there. You just need to turn up the volume, But when and especially when you have somebody that comes up, stops, and goes to set up, things are going good, the horse moves correctly, and then all of a sudden they stop and their horse isn't square. Like, everything's good. Your horse is moving. The getting is there. Get that extra, show it to the judges that, hey, I'm in charge of those feet. I can move it an inch.
Right.
It's moving fast. I'll move it another inch and have it perfect.
Okay.
And then people are like, oh, no, it's not a race. Get it square. Make sure that it moves.
So would you rather see us take our time, not take our time, but make it perfect instead of just being like, that's good, and just like go ahead and.
I would say that it's extremely, and I don't know if many judges will agree with me, but I think it's more important at the major shows for you to take maybe just a little more time. I shouldn't use the word time. I should say be a little more particular.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Because I think you guys can set them up perfectly.
Yeah.
And very short amount of time.
Right.
So if you're one move away from being perfect, do it.
Do it again. Yeah. Fix that foot.
Do it.
Fix the foot.
You know, you pushed it back a little too far, bring it up an inch and show to them, hey, this is
where it meant to put it.
I'm ready now. He's square.
Okay.
And pet peeve of mine, they need to be square behind.
Okay.
I could be forgiving a little bit up front.
Okay.
Be square behind.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. If you start there and you look good there and you're not perfect, but if you're not square behind and you get to the front, you're like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get them nice and square behind first.
Okay.
Teach them that first. The rest will come, you know. So
okay. All right.
So then we go to our backup.
Right. So there's my setup. So and that's my hind feet were good. And honestly, I think from my perspective, the front feet were good. But
yes.
I see from the camera.
Yeah, no, I absolutely see the same thing. Cross over, you're not dropping your shoulders when you cross over. You drop your hand under your horses. Everything stays solid.
So their neck went up a little bit, but it's still, this was hard.
Yes. So I don't have any issues with the way he raised his neck. He never actually got it raised and then curled.
No.
It's not like he raised it because he slowed down his feet. Had he slowed down his feet, you'd have kept pushing.
Right.
He would have curled and then would have had a slingshot out the back. So to me, I thought your feet never slow down. You keep your energy. Your steps are going nonstop. Your horse never falters. He never refuses. No. You can go anywhere from a 2 to, like maybe that raised gets you at 2.5. Okay. 2.5's a damn good score.
He's a good backer.
That's really, really good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So to me, I love that. Now I want to elaborate on that before we get to the end. The backup, please, everybody, when you're backing your horses up, it's not about how fast you can back. It's about how good your horse, not every horse backs up well.
Right.
Know your horse, know what he looks good at. And we actually had to address the backup several years ago. I was in a conference call with Gretchen Mathis about it as they were trying to find different ways of explaining people. And my way of explaining it was that I had two ways of looking at it. First is, why would you back up faster than you walk forward?
Good point.
So
good point.
It's a basic place to start. That's number one. Number two, we're always trying to outdo the next exhibitor. So I can understand why backing up with energy is a good thing, but your horse should never lose his diagonal step backing up. Never. Huh. If your horse loses his diagonal step, to me, he's starting to scramble. Yep. And therefore, to me, it's hard for me to even give you a +1.
Huh. I like that.
I don't care how fast you go. I think you're pushing. You're trying to show that you know how to put your horse out of control.
Right.
And at that point, your horse does not have footing anymore, and he's just running backward, trying to run away from you. But when one comes in and it's boom, 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 diagonal, 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 and you can walk just as energetic as you are in this video and hit your diagonals and go. Now, you have horses that are short steppers. You have them that are long. You have to figure out what makes your horse look the best.
Okay.
But it's not about everybody backing up fast, please. I mean, don't go in the warm-up pen and look around and say, boy, that one goes fast. I got to go faster.
Okay.
No.
Smooth.
Show your horse.
Yeah.
To its best of it, that it can do. And and some horses can hit them diagonals and run backwards really fast.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Right.
But if you can't do that, well, maybe you could set up faster. Maybe you can turn better.
Right.
So don't be all
crazy.
I lost because I didn't back up fast enough. No. It's a lot more than that. Again, if you listen to me when I give you my impression of your backup, I look at you, I look at your step, I look at how is your horse pushing back on you. You never look like you're slowing down your pace for him to catch up to you. Once you initiate, your feet are moving, even in the turn. So you're basically walking at the same pace. You're not chasing your horse back, but he's moving with energy.
Yeah, I like that. And I like what you said. We don't usually, like, why would we back up a lot faster than we walk? That is true.
Yeah. Your turn again is real good and solid. Your trot out's good. He needs to trot a little harder at the end so he makes that stop looks
better.
Looks like
yeah. My stop was soggy. I was like, well, I hope nobody's watching anymore.
just a little bit at the end. And the way I look at it, Allie, and I can tell that to everybody out there.
Yeah.
It's your last maneuver score.
Yeah.
If you have the judge excited up until then, that extra half or that extra point that you can get there, just don't leave it there. Finish strong, finish hard. If you have a bobble halfway through, well, you got a point to make up.
Yeah, true.
Make sure you don't leave them in there.
I did that stop. I left it because I was like, oh, Zeus. I think he was like, we're done. We're late. I must have been feeling that energy that we were. Oh, we're done too.
So that's something. Keep in mind. True.
That is a good thing to keep in mind. And I think I remember talking with Tim Kamara a couple times how he'll put like the walkovers are always at the end because he said, your horse is already like they've been going over poles, they've been loping and trotting and loping and trotting and whoa and this and that, and then now just shut it down, and walk carefully. Yeah. He's like, it's the hardest thing for them to do.
Yes,
it really is.
Yes.
So it's the same with the showmanship. Like
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, and it's a numbers game. It's and be a student of the game. I know you are. You study. Be a student of the game. What do I mean by that? Know the maneuvers. Well, first of all, know the rule books. You go to if horsemanship's your game, know what horsemanship is. Know what the penalties are. Know what the maneuvers are and what's to be expected of you. That's 1. 2, look at your score sheet and learn your score sheet. If you have one score sheet out of 4 judges that day that is way off and makes you look like you can't ride a stick horse, don't worry about discard it. Average it out. Average it out, and then look at your weak maneuvers and make sure that you work on those. And if you take a weak maneuver, you add a half point to that on 3 judges. In a lot of classes, that takes you up 3 or 4 places.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that's just a half a point.
Right.
You take that, you did really well in that showmanship class. So you bump that half point, or if he buries his butt in the ground, because it's a steady trot, it's a long trot, it's the end. There's nothing else after that. Nope. You don't have to stop and spin. It's just a stop. You stop it hard, and you get a point. Over there, the high the low goes out, you add 3 points to your score. Yeah,
that could have been a trophy.
It's possible. Yeah. So every half point's important. Every little thing's important.
For sure. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, we're going to do one more. You up for one more?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do equitation.
Okay.
Now, I personally have seen that's always been a pretty decent class for me. I started as a hunt seat rider as a kid anyway, so I think I'm a little more partial to the little saddle. But to me, it seems as though it's judged very differently weekend to weekend. And sometimes, the more Englishy style horse, even if they have a mistake, will win over a more Western style horse. Sometimes I have seen, a rider that maybe sits a little bit more up and down with like a longer stirrup even win versus somebody that looks a little more huntery, so like a shorter leg and a little more forward in their body. Well, I would love to hear just even your opinion of what you're looking for when you're starting to judge, let's say like one of the bigger, the Congress of the World show in the amateur.
So for me, in the equitation, I'm looking for that huntery rider.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking for. I do believe that the hunter saddle, equitation, all are stepping stones to the overfence classes. I believe that from, many, many years ago, and still to this day, even though there are some that are advocating that they need to be separate totally. And I don't think I don't think it's necessary to ride differently, even if you're not going to jump,
Okay.
even if you're not going to take Zeus
Right. Yeah. Like my
over
horse
a
is not. No,
fence.
it's not. I can barely even do the trail.
Okay.
So I was going to ask you that. So if you know, obviously my horse, he's tall, so he even has like a little bit of an Englishy look to him,
Hmm.
but he's not a big mover.
Hmm.
Um, would you? Does that take away from the look though?
I think
Or like,
that,
can I fake it?
well, let me answer it the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
this
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Okay. I have two horses to judge.
Hmm.
Um, Riders that are comparable like you.
Okay.
Okay. Same rider,
Hmm.
two different style horses coming in.
Okay.
I think that you can, in the end, I can I can have a 95 and a 96.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think uh, I can basically say that in this particular instance, the more huntery type horse will
Hmm.
be the 96.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And I don't think anybody's going to argue that.
Okay.
Um, so let's dissect that for a minute.
Mhm.
You come in with Zeus. He has a huntery look to him, but he certainly isn't 16.3
Mhm.
and actually does the over fence
Yeah, and
classes.
he's not gonna
Okay.
cover ground
So
like
to
what?
me, you can have those two horses with a weak rider, and maybe more the Western horse will make that rider look a little bit better
Mhm.
than the huntery because they can't ride that big horse.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So you got to be able to decipher
Mhm.
both of them. Style, one style better than the other? I don't think so. I think it's a matter of when you leave the cone, um, how bold, are you giving me all the criterias and the best that you can give me the way hunt seat equitation is described to be.
Mhm.
Um, you need to be forward.
Okay. Yep.
You need, if you're picking up your right diagonal at the cone, then it starts on the right diagonal. Get into your diagonal the way you should,
Mhm.
and don't don't make it a safe trot.
Okay.
Trot. I'm not telling you to extend your
Run.
trot.
Right.
If you're right diagonal to the second cone, at the second cone, sit trot to the
Mhm.
third cone, I don't know that I want to see your horse slow down.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you that too.
Why should your horse slow down at a
Okay.
sitting trot?
Okay.
And I see that a lot.
Yes.
Everybody seems to want to slow down, and I get that. It's easier to sit to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what you're doing is if you're engaged and you're pushing at your sitting trot and you're
Yep.
involved, the stiffer you are, the worse it's going to
Gonna
be.
be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So be bold and make that sitting trot look good. So,
I have heard that, and I actually heard it at the World Show when we were waiting for the placings. And somebody said, I heard to someone else, like, "Oh, your sitting trot was really great. I could tell you had a difference in your pace." And I just hearing them talk, I was like, "Wait a minute." Mine was like whipping the sitting trot. We did not change pace, and I was like, "Is that a thing?" I didn't honestly. I didn't even know,
yeah.
um, because I always just from having I have a little very light dressage background,
Hmm.
and the sitting there was no change.
No.
You know, you would still want to continue your impulsion and forward, and there was really
Yes.
no change.
Yes.
So I've never thought of it that way. So that's interesting to hear you say that
Yeah.
that we still would want to. So you don't really want to see a change in pace. You want to see
No.
it needs to flow, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It
Okay.
needs to flow.
Okay.
You can be uh in a neck over fences where there's an option to where they canter to a trot fence. They
Mm-hmm.
canter and then do it break
Yep.
into a trot and trot a fence.
Yeah.
You're not going to sit down into your sit trot and kind of just hold back going to that
No.
fence. No,
No.
your flow really shouldn't break. You need to be in that position where you're ready,
Yeah.
not propped back and slapping the horse's back. So to me, all these things
Yep.
are tied together. So your sitting trot needs to be forward. It's just
Okay.
another gait. It needs to be forward. And like anything, like the showmanship, like the horsemanship, as well as the equitation, it'll make your halt in your equitation way better
Square.
if you're going forward
Yep.
to your halt.
Yep.
If you're starting to think about your halt or your stop in horsemanship before you get there, it's going to be average.
Okay.
Ride all the way to your stop. Go all the way to your
Show you
stop.
mine because that was actually one of the hardest parts for me.
Okay.
So this pattern, we had to come in from the chute.
Yeah.
So we started with a sitting trot in the chute. All right. So yeah, coming in. Here's my halt. Actually, I think my halt was okay, but he got a little. He stopped crooked. Yeah.
Just dropped his left hip a little bit. He didn't refuse. He just got a little bit loose
Crooked.
and he stopped there.
Yeah.
Right diagonal. You pick your reins up, get in your 2-point.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to ask you a question about the 2-point.
Yeah.
So when I jump, I adjust my reins by sliding my hands down. And I had somebody out here tell me that actually is more of a novice way to shorten your reins. And that if you can just crawl up your reins, that actually is more of like an advanced technique.
I don't know that I would say it's more of a novice. I think both are acceptable.
Okay.
I think that if you can, shorten your reins without having to go that route, I myself would like that better.
I don't know why I have always thought that just was the proper way to do it. So it's just.
So my opinion on it, I'm 50-50 to be honest with you. Here's the flip side of that. Judge has to be staring at your hands to seeing if you're shortening your reins.
Yeah.
Well, is she not?
Yeah,
where the other way you could tell. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about 2 points, amongst judges, judges are very opinionated of what they think a 2-point should be. And get into your 2 points, you need to shorten your reins in your 2-point. Okay. We don't see that a lot, to be honest with you.
But
you don't.
The droopy reins.
So show it.
Yeah. Yes.
Show that you're shortening up. Be quick, be effective. Don't spend 10 strides trying to shorten your reins up. So practice it.
Yeah.
But to me, I can very easily see it there.
Okay.
And you could tell you've practiced it. You're comfortable with it. You got right into it. So to me,
so either way really is fine. But like you said, if you can crawl up and adjust, it probably is faster.
Yeah. Honestly. I'm just going to say that I think it's neater. And it looks like you've done it a million times.
I agree. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Rather than calling the other way novice. I think both ways are good. Your hands are good, your pace is good, and you get into your hand gallop.
So, and even here in the hand gallop, I know. So, do you guys want to see? I mean, his head is low just because his neck is put on his body lower.
Right.
But do you want to see their neck up in the hand gallop a little bit more?
Me personally, no.
Okay.
I don't. Now, I look at your horse from the time he left the cone. I know what kind of horse, I have an idea what type of horse he is. And so, to me,
he's not
to me, if you have a horse that's got a neck that's 10 miles long and his legs are similar to what his neck is, and his stride is really big, maybe you need to be up here to control all that
going on,
all those legs and all that motion. I think in this case, your job's to go forward. Okay. And if you start to say, "Oh, I got to have my horse," no, that's not how he works. I mean, he's flat, he's forward, he's got a big split. At no point do you look like you're trying to be conservative at your canter or at your hand gallop to me. So that never enters my mind when I watch this video saying, "Boy, I wish that head was a little bit higher."
So even like my style with this horse, if I go to really collect him and have, I'll just say a tighter feel on his face, he'll just go to his chest and not go forward. And I've had a couple different people say to me, well, he needs to be more, look more in the bridle anyways. And to me, the way that I exhibited him here is just his style. And I feel like that's how he shows best.
Yes.
And I don't have loose reins and I'm not disconnected.
No.
But it's definitely a different look than others.
It is. But you also, like, some people may not see what I see there. But again, I look at your horse's style when he leaves, and I look at your hands.
Okay.
There may be one or two instances in that pattern where I see one of your rein will get loose.
Yep.
Your hand makes the adjustment
Right.
immediately. There's never, while you make that adjustment, there's no disturbance, and all your focus is on forward and getting to your next maneuver.
Right.
So to me, I would never look at that and say, well, I'd want this more up or more in the bridle because I would score you more. I agree with you. I think you're spot on when you say I couldn't get my horse to go forward
He just doesn't.
like I can like that.
I've tried. I've
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
tried. And so if anybody's just listening to this, my horse, he is his neck is set a little lower on his withers. He's probably built a little bit more downhill. And he kind of goes with his neck straight out, and his nose actually a little poked out. A little bit more like Hunter under saddle, but I have contact. And like you said, if I lose a little bit of the contact, I'm trying to gain the feel back, at least to always have a light feel on his mouth.
Yeah.
To keep encouraging forward, because otherwise he's so sully, he'll just stand there. So okay. Well, that was because I have tried to put him in a different mold. And I feel like if that doesn't show well.
And if you want to be critical as a judge to that, let's say you come in and you trot into the cone and you're like, boy, that one's not in the bridle. Well, when that pattern's over, you go ahead and argue with me and you tell me that horse was not bridled enough.
Especially that pattern, like we had to be.
There's so much in that pattern. You can't tell me that horse needed to be more in the bridle the way he executed that pattern.
Right.
So.
Right. It was a lot. It was a lot.
It's like me talking about the backup and showmanship.
Yeah.
Not all horses back up really, fast or slow or whatever. So you have your style, your horse, show what you have. And, had you got halfway through your pattern, your horse start to
like all the way out.
You go to your hands and he's like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Well, you need to go outside and get him in the bridle.
You go try that again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get him in the bridle.
Okay.
But so.
And so even like coming around the corner, I had a little bit of flop. But honestly, it was to encourage my forward and like I know where my holes are, but
walk into that canter, takes one stride into the canter, and then immediately gets into the correct pace.
And then this was the hard. Yeah, that was hard. It was a hard, a lot of like short, quick maneuvers, and to somehow make it continue to flow it was hard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So. This is just the awards then, I think. Okay, and so then we had to go on the rail for the finals with no irons both ways. That was torturous. I'm not gonna lie.
Really? Wow.
Oh my God. They literally said you may completely take your irons off your saddle or, cross them. I think the majority of us took them completely off. Yeah, so that they weren't flailing around. But I have to tell you, when I turned around to go the second way, so they had us come in at a walk, which was so kind. So kind. And, they got us all in, and then they had us canter, which was also very kind.
Yeah.
And then they brought us down to, I think, a sitting trot, and then we posted a little bit, and then they had us turn around, walk, go the other way, which was great. But when we walked and turned around and went the other way, I literally said out loud to myself, I was like, Allie, you're a badass. I was like, you're almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
You're still, and I was okay at this point, turning around. I was like, you're still doing okay.
Yeah.
But there were like a lot of like college girls in there too.
Oh,
and they ride every day, like multiple horses. And I'm like, there's a couple of us older ladies in here. I'm calling myself an older lady, but it was hard. And I will say, everybody did such a good job. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And okay, so this is a little bit off topic from the judging standpoint. But as far from an AQHA standpoint, I know there were only, I think, 32 or 34 of us showed the level 3 amateur equitation out there. And I know a lot of people were saying, well, the numbers were kind of low. But I will tell you, all 34 of those goes were pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Like everybody had a shot at something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, although the numbers were small, the quality was like
Mhm.
unbelievable.
Mhm.
So for, whatever the 15 of us that came back on the rail and everybody with no irons going both directions. And again, everybody did a really good job. That's saying something.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm with you when they tell you, okay, you're coming in no
Yeah.
irons, and you know they're going to work you both ways. You're
Yeah.
like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I hope I have enough strength. Yeah,
Yes.
but luckily they were smart enough
Yeah.
in
They
their
did.
judging
Mhm.
that they gave you a head start and let you get
Yes.
going, and that
Yes.
way you could finish good. So what they didn't, to their credit, they didn't want to see who was going to outlast
Right.
who.
Which is
They
nice.
studied your eck and how you rode and how forward you
Yes.
were and how and your balance.
In our balance. And
Your
that was
balance.
and I feel like that's the only thing that actually really saved me is I have like good core strength
Mhm.
balance. It's not so much my
Mhm.
legs that are strong, but it's the core
Yeah.
strength. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see everybody be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, core all day long.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my riders. Work on your core.
Yeah.
Draw your strength from your core. So, but yeah, I mean that was really good. Good job,
Thanks,
Allie.
thanks,
Good
thanks,
job.
thanks, thanks. I had a great horse show, and I appreciate you being honest. I again, I appreciate everybody's little opinions and
Yeah,
comments, and I think it's neat to hear. I know you judge these horse shows, so it's neat to hear your opinion year after year after year.
yeah.
The way even I think okay. I guess what I'm trying to say this is you have progressed your opinions, and I'm sure your judging has changed over the years.
It
The
has.
horses have changed over the
It
years.
has.
Even talking about the F&E being applied now too, you've had to learn how to incorporate that into your judging.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's neat to hear. I'm sure it's changing. It's always evolving.
It is evolving. Having done it for a long time like I have, I realize that you have to change
Yeah.
with the times. But one thing that never changes is the basic and the fundamentals of the class.
Mhm.
And so when we're talking equitation, showmanship, horsemanship, uh, what's a plus one and what's a plus three?
Mhm.
Uh, for instance, a 360, whether it's showmanship, equitation, or whatever, a 360, let's say to the right. Uh, a plus one is a horse that's guiding well,
Mhm.
that has a little forward
Mhm.
and no disturbance, and everything is kind of staying in
Mhm.
square in the area.
Mhm.
A plus three is again dictated, has good flow, solid inside pivot foot leg that does not move, horse flowing laterally
Mhm.
through its front legs, not back,
Yep.
and looking and guiding.
So do you know? I didn't know that you guys looked for that. I really
Oh,
didn't.
I don't know that all of us do,
Uh-huh.
but I know I do from my
I love that.
background. I think it's like I told you earlier, you got to know what your plus three is. And
Yep.
what's a plus three?
Yep.
Well, I don't think you could do that any better.
Right. That's true. Because
So,
that's balance.
you
It's
know,
correct. It's the way it should be.
yes. And rider has to be in position, can't be behind the spin,
Yep.
got to be where that inside is opened up for that horse to flow into it
Mhm.
and to
Yep.
stop correctly and have good sync and have
Yep.
good timing. So,
And like you're saying, if we're gonna spin to the right, it's just like a showmanship spin, right?
yes.
So it should be like that.
Yeah.
I don't. I have to admit, I don't practice that way. And now I'm
No.
gonna think about that because I don't. I don't. Especially if I spin to the right, actually, it's harder for my horse.
Yeah.
So I usually just as long as he is forward and his shoulders are moving around his hind end, I just kind of am like,
Yeah.
that's good enough. But it's not. So that's just
Yeah.
a plus one. So I need to
And
work
there's
that.
nothing wrong with a
Yeah.
plus one and a half on a
Yep.
horse that pivots on the off leg, let's say
Okay.
under saddle.
Yep.
Okay, there's some horses that just really struggle trying to
Mhm.
find that balance on that inside, and I get that.
Yep.
And you can very easily not ruin one,
Mhm.
but make one uncomfortable spinning
Yep.
if all you're thinking about it, oh, my horse doesn't spin on the inside pivot foot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to score. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. But
We're
that is the
talking about a
ultimate.
plus three,
Yes. Right.
talking about plus two and a half.
Yep.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yep.
you know.
I like that though.
So you keep that in mind. You're always working to get better, and we're talking about how do I add a half point to this maneuver? How
Yeah.
do I have, to the backup? How do I, so on the spin, we look
That's
at
where
that
it's
for
at.
judges,
Yep.
and I think even a judge that doesn't really look for that, they get to the finals at the World Show, and a rider comes in and is so solid,
Yeah.
pivot foot spinning, they can't help it.
Right.
I mean, it's just beautiful to
Yeah.
watch. It's
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah.
It just speaks for itself. So
Yeah.
to me,
Cool.
yeah. So that's very important. Very important. And yes, we do see a lot of details that you, at least I do.
Yeah.
Finger the way playing with fingers, and
You do.
we
You
have
see
some
it.
riders that'll come in and slip a finger between two fingers between the reins and into
Really?
a pivot.
Really? And
Oh,
you see
absolutely.
that.
They get to a stop and they just
Crawl up a little. Yeah. Yeah. No
that's it.
way.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm coordinated enough to
I'm very
coordinated
picky
enough to
about
do
that.
that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. I'm worried about too many
Yeah.
other things. I'm not
But to
coordinated enough.
me, you initiate from there to start with. I mean,
Yeah.
if your guide comes from your leg, unless you do, you have a horse that, I mean, you have to engage over here
Yes.
somewhere. So
Yes.
I look at the relationship of that hand, that leg to
Yeah.
the body, the response to the body. But it starts there,
Yeah.
and the horse basically tells on you. Really,
Yeah,
he'll tell.
I'm
So
sure they do.
he makes you look like you're one. Oh, what's going on? What's causing that? And then you start looking, and you'll find it.
Huh. So
So
you guys do see that stuff. See, it's like me faking it in my walk though a little bit too.
we're on to you.
Yeah, you guys do know. You know when we're faking it. Like, I'll just sell this a little more. Yeah. No, that I appreciate all of this insight. And I'm sure everybody else will too, because it's obviously, like people, it's easy to get discouraged.
Mhm.
You actually, before we go though too.
Yeah.
What would make somebody, we talked about plussing.
Mhm.
What's a -1? Let's even go. You want to talk about showmanship or which one? Like,
Yeah,
give us,
showmanship's
yeah,
fine.
okay, let's do showmanship. What is?
So pick a maneuver, let's say.
Let's just do like an initial trot off.
Okay. So to me, you're at the cone. We're done judging the last horse. I close my score. I turn to you, and you're next to go. Your position's good. We nod at you. You go to your trot off position, which means you turn parallel to your horse.
Mm-hmm.
And as you motion, nothing's happening over here until like he's half a step behind you.
Okay.
You get into your trot, you're wanting to give me a good trot.
Mm-hmm.
Your chain is snug tight.
Yeah.
You're strong, you're in shape, you're dragging your horse.
Yeah.
Now, you can cheat.
Right.
You can cheat it, but you're not going to cheat me.
You know.
Me, I there's nothing worse for me than somebody dragging their horse. And there's different styles, some short chains, some longer chains, and I get that some horses work different than others. But you could tell when one has to drag their horse around the arena. And so if you leave the cone, the horse is behind you, you get into your trot, you have them to drag him. Obviously, all that is going to make either your transition to the walk or your stop ugly.
Yeah.
You'll be out of sync at the end.
Yeah.
So to me, you're at -1/2 already.
Okay.
Now, if you go below that, I think a refusal of some type has to be you go to trot off and your horse kind of just sits up there. Then you slow yourself down. You start to dance up and down to make it look like you're trotting until he catches up to you. And then you can never get any power.
Yeah.
That's where you're in the minus. But to me, so maybe even to answer that better is what's a zero trot off?
Yeah.
You turn to your horse, you cluck. He may be a little bit behind, but he catches back up to you. You get up to speed. He kind of stays with you, but kind of nonchalant.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything special, but okay, fine, I'm going to do it. You get to your stop. You say, whoa, you stop. He's like a half a step. Then he's like, oh, okay, stop. Well, you met the requirement of that maneuver, really. You trotted off. There was no major fight, but you're a little bit out of sync.
Okay.
But no severe disturbance. The head didn't come up. you never really had to sit there and fake a trot because once you got him going, he'd execute. Yeah. So you're at a 0.
Okay. Okay. All right. What is a 0 setup?
To me, there's several different 0 setups. You can have someone that comes in high energy, top level world show finalist, get up there to a setup, and after 3/4 of the pattern of trotting, running, spinning, backing up, you get up there and your horse is spent. And you could tell there was a lot of work done outside before he came in, or it's 2 weeks being in Oklahoma City. Yeah. They're spent. That horse lands into a stop and is basically just does this. And so exhibitor goes to set up and it's work. Yeah. You could tell like, oh, I've lost him. I'm trying. And the exhibitor will maneuver, will arm wrestle it until it's a square setup. Yeah. But you could tell that's where 0 is. Or somebody comes in and does a 1, 2, 3 setup, I would call it. You know, move a back foot, get square, move a front foot, and then move another front foot and get a 1, 2, 3 setup. But in the manner that they went about it and how long and how they had to kind of shift body weight, they're shifting weight to make a horse pick up his feet rather than a horse going like this, lifting, moving the feet, placing, tightening up, squaring up, and showing. Okay. That, you know, you could be perfectly square and still be a 0. It's how you got there. Yeah. How did you get there? And you're going to say, well, why does it have to be a 0? Well, it has to be a 0 because when Allie comes next, she's going to do all that, but she's going to do it that quickly. She'll basically hardly ever move her hand. And when that horse stops, she's going to go, okay, I know what I have to do. You have the plan. Boom, boom, boom. Yep. So if I +1 or +2 your square stop, what am I supposed to do with Allie's? Yeah, true. And then somebody else after her is going to try to do better than Allie did. Yep. Yep. And so that's where the point system is to me. If you're just correct and able to execute that setup, it's how you go about it. Okay. You know, how you landed into your stop, I think has a lot to do with how you're going to set up. If you stop with energy, maintain that energy until it's time to present. Yep. I like that. Do your inspection. Energy. Yeah, I like that. That does make it. I mean, that makes a difference. And even if you just mentally think about that, like just now I was mentally thinking about maintaining energy through the setup. Because I do think, I know I've done it in the past where I get to that setup and I'm like, okay, take a deep breath. You just extend it, trot it up to the judge. Yeah. And I will sometimes almost relax too much through the setup. Yeah. And that makes it boring. It does. And I think you have to maintain your intensity all the way until your last footed move, until you've said whoa, or whatever it is that your cue is for your horse to just stand still and then present. Yep. Because the stop is only part of what's coming next. There's something else coming next. You're not going to go ahead and do, if your pattern requires you to walk, stop, do a 360 and back up, you're not going to walk up, stop, take a breath, do a 360, take a breath and back up. Right. No. And so the stop to, or the trot to the stop to the maneuver of setting up is the same thing. So to me, you can use your inspection to just let your horse settle, but you're showing, you're competing. Still, yes. You're competing. Yes. You're competing against others that saw you last week win, and they worked all week just so that they could beat Allie next weekend at the horse show. Sure. And then Allie gets second this weekend. Yeah. Because that girl that was second last weekend, Allie's not going to like that. So Allie's going home next week, and it'll be better than her. So, and it's be competitive. Don't quit until you're done, you know? And a lot of times so this is me as a judge talking, even the best exhibitors will get to a situation where 3/4 of the way through their pattern, there's a stop and a setup, and their horses do quit. It doesn't mean they quit themselves, but some horses do quit because of the fact that maybe when you were preparing or when you're practicing at home, you go to your stop, unless you have an issue with your horse not wanting to stop, stop, sit, stand.
Yep.
Don't stop and stand there with your horse. If your chain is in there, he needs to know that if he's not moving, square is the best place to be.
Yep. I like that.
So you keep that in mind. Once the chain is off, it doesn't matter. But
true. I like that. Even I know my horse, he actually is still somewhat fairly green at the showmanship, but the majority of this year we would get to the first cone just to start, and he would act like he has never been taught how to set up before in his entire life. And he would get up there and start dancing around, and I would start to panic because I'm like, well, I'm not going to be ready in time. And or then I would find myself going in way too early, and then he'd be half asleep at the first cone by the time they're ready for me to go on.
Yeah.
So before the Congress and the World Show, I put, I don't know, like 6 cones in my arena, and I would just go to each cone and set up and stand there.
Yes.
And then trot out like I was like showing. And I even tried to get myself like a little, like in a show mode. So that, like you and I had talked about this before too, but like practicing like you show.
Yes.
Because I found I don't do that enough.
Yeah.
And not that I would like practice kind of like nonchalantly, but at the same time I never did those specific things, and I was finding myself having a real problem when I would get to the horse show and go to that first cone, and he just was like, well, we don't ever practice this. We just set up in the middle wherever.
Doing combinations. Yes, the stop, the set, stand, trot out. And those three steps in that one maneuver prepares a horse to get comfortable handling a pressure situation. At least that you're preparing your horse to get into the arena under pressure and be comfortable and know what to expect.
Right. Yep. And I wasn't doing that before.
Practice like you show.
Yep.
Practice like you show.
It's a good one.
So I think it makes your horse try a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And they don't quit early on you.
No.
I think they know where they can stand and wait.
Yep.
So
I think those are all really, really good points for people. And, it's something good to now, especially us in the Northeast, we are entering the winter. So we don't have, unless you're going to Florida, but most people don't have many horse shows to go to here for the next couple of months. So these are all good things, I think, to work on over the winter. Just these little fine-tuning things that can get you that half a point that maybe you left out last weekend.
Yeah, and you don't need to drill those for a half hour, 45 minutes.
Right.
15 minutes.
Yep.
Don't, and don't wear it out, but just get your point across, and it keeps your horse sharp, keeps you sharp.
It keeps you sharp too. Yeah, that's another. Sharp. Yeah, it really is. These are all.
And the way I look at it too, if you take showmanship, stopping, going to your setup. If your horse is sharp, you're quick, you're energized. You stop and you turn, your horse is already setting up. Okay, 2 things can happen there. Your horse is a little bit on the edge. He's a little bit ahead of you, so you're just trying to slow things down. As you turn, he's moving. To me, I don't penalize anyone that stops and they turn to their position. Their horse should know a horse should never stand not set up for inspection in a showmanship class. So your horse knows it's coming. So I think as long as you're very synchronized to where as soon as you're turning your hand and your eyes are looking at his feet and he's moving, I'm okay with that. If your horse is way ahead of you, to me, typically, your hand and your eyes are asking him to move the leg that's not moving. He's moving a different leg. And to me, I already know, well, that one's on autopilot. He's got a very good trainer outside and was told, just stand there, cluck once and twice and it'll go. And so, hey, everybody on the rail, oh, that was an awesome setup. And then somebody comes in and is in sync. And I can tell which leg is moving is the one that's been cued. Well, that one can be a +3 and the other one can be a 1.5.
Right.
That's still a good score.
Yeah.
But yours is, you could tell you dictated the whole thing and you had everything to do with the outcome of your setup.
Right.
And we're rewarding the exhibitor as much as we are the horse. You have everything to do with what's happening in front of us as we're judging it.
That's true.
So
Oh, so much pressure. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's true. It's true. No, I love it. And I think, all these again, so helpful for everyone. Me for sure. I get to sit here and get all this amazing
Mm,
information. But I do hope that it, gives people some insight as to what you guys are looking for
mhm.
and, what really can help people improve their scores the next time they're at the first comp.
Yeah,
And, what really can set them apart from others. Um, yeah, no, I think it's all great. Thank you.
you're very
This was
welcome.
great.
I enjoyed doing it very much. So,
Yeah. Oh,
and
till next time.
till next time, we'll just keep on doing it.
Keep doing it.
Let's go work
Sounds good.
showmanship.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, cool. No, I think that was great.